Le marketing prend un nouveau virage et ce n'est pas celui du marketing de la demande, mais du marketing de l'offre. Amplitude, société experte en analytics, observe en effet un report des budgets marketing depuis la vente et le marketing vers les investissements dans les apps. Un rapport d'Amplitude de 2022 démontre clairement cet essor du marketing de l'offre. Dans notre entretien avec Adam Greco, évangéliste et Amplitude, nous avons discuté de cette nouvelle tendance de la réaffectation des budgets marketing au profit des apps pour générer plus de croissance. Des interviews, des chiffres, des faits, des études. Pas de blabla, ce sont les podcasts de Visionary Marketing disponibles sur toutes les bonnes chaînes de balado-diffusion. Bonjour et bienvenue dans les podcasts de Visionary Marketing. Le sujet du jour, le marketing de l'offre basé sur les apps au cœur de la croissance en 2023. Un podcast réalisé depuis les États-Unis avec Adam Greco d'Amplitude, que vous retrouverez en anglais à la fin de ce podcast, derrière la traduction. Pendant la pandémie de Covid, l'utilisation des applications a connu une croissance fulgurante. Amplitude a publié son premier rapport juste après, le rapport d'août 2022 et leur deuxième. Nous étions curieux de voir à quoi ressemblerait le modèle de croissance lorsque la pandémie s'atténuerait. Nous avons analysé les tendances du secteur parmi nos 2000 clients, a déclaré Adam Greco. Par le passé, les entreprises SaaS investissaient beaucoup dans les ventes et le marketing. Aujourd'hui, au lieu d'embaucher des centaines de vendeurs, elles privilégient la croissance par le marketing de l'offre, nous dit-il. La méthodologie de notre étude, c'est Adam Greco qui parle, a consisté à examiner un ensemble de secteurs sur un an. Les applications que nous avons étudiées devaient avoir au moins 10 000 utilisateurs actifs mensuels afin de se débarrasser des résultats non significatifs. Nous avons également interrogé plus de 200 chefs d'entreprise des secteurs du marketing et des produits afin d'obtenir leur point de vue sur la situation. Pour les différents secteurs, nous avons analysé les pays clés de l'APAC, de l'Amérique du Nord et de l'Europe. L'étude a porté sur différents types d'applications web à la fois sociales et transactionnelles avec un accent sur le B2B, le commerce électronique, la technologie grand public, le fintech, le bien-être, etc. Nous avons vu beaucoup de situations où de nouvelles petites entreprises se lancent à cause des craintes d'une récession ou de certains impacts d'une récession potentielle, nous a dit Adam Greco. Nous étions donc curieux de savoir, c'est toujours Greco qui parle, comment le potentiel ralentissement économique ou la sortie de la pandémie influence l'utilisation des applications. Notre rapport précédent montrait une croissance étonnante de plusieurs centaines de pourcents, nous dit-il. Nous avons abordé ce rapport en nous attendant à ce que la croissance des produits soit presque négative, mais nous avons été surpris de la croissance de l'usage de ces applications avec quelques hauts et bas entre 2021 et 2022. Nous avons observé une croissance de 16%, ce qui montre que, même en période économique tumultueuse, l'investissement dans le marketing reste massif avec les applications au cœur de cet investissement. Singapour a connu la croissance la plus élevée de toutes, 43%, et leur économie semble se porter très bien. L'Allemagne était à 38% et la France à 32% de croissance. Ces chiffres sont très élevés, nous dit Adam Greco. Je viens de passer un mois en Europe et il est intéressant de constater que l'Europe devient une pépinière de start-up. Un grand nombre de ces jeunes pousses utilisent le marketing de l'offre pour se différencier sur le marché. On dit que chaque fois que vous avez un potentiel ralentissement économique, c'est en fait le meilleur moment pour créer de nouvelles entreprises. C'est aussi ce que nous constatons, dit le responsable d'Amplitude. Ce qui est intéressant, c'est que la plus grande croissance marketing liée à une app que nous ayons observée était une application de médias sociaux appelée BeReal. Leurs chiffres ont tout simplement crevé le plafond, nous dit-il. Cette société est d'ailleurs cliente d'Amplitude qu'elle utilise pour piloter sa croissance. Son PDG a mentionné que lorsqu'il rencontre ses investisseurs, au lieu de leur montrer une présentation PowerPoint, il leur affiche simplement les données de croissance d'Amplitude parce que cela a plus d'impact et leur permet de voir ce qui se passe. Nous avons observé, c'est toujours Adam Greco qui parle, une croissance massive dans le secteur du voyage en Europe depuis que les restrictions ont été levées. Une entreprise basée aux Pays-Bas a enregistré une hausse de 324%, une autre en Espagne de 253% et encore une autre au Royaume-Uni de 164%. C'est formidable de voir à quel point le secteur du voyage a repris les couleurs après la pandémie. En Europe, nous avons constaté une croissance maximale dans le secteur des voyages, tandis qu'en Amérique du Nord, une forte croissance a pu être observée dans le SaaS et les applications de santé et de bien-être. Je pense que beaucoup de gens veulent se remettre en forme, nous dit Adam Graecker, après être resté assis pendant quelques années pendant la pandémie. Les fintechs ont également cru énormément pendant cette période. En France, 2 entreprises se sont distinguées. La première est Conto, une société financière basée à Paris qui propose des solutions de paiement, de gestion des dépenses et de comptabilité. Elle a enregistré une croissance de 75% d'une année sur l'autre. Ensuite, il y a Luco, qui est une société de technologie d'assurance axée sur la transparence et un modèle ouvert pour permettre à ses utilisateurs de comprendre où va leur argent. Elle a connu une croissance de 119%. Il y a donc une grande variété d'entreprises dans différentes régions et beaucoup d'entre elles sont des entreprises émergentes en pleine expansion. Tout le monde a parlé de la grande démission aussi. Les gens s'inquiétaient de perdre leur emploi à cause de la récession, mais pendant la pandémie, les gens se sont sentis en position de force car ils pouvaient trouver un autre emploi quand ils le voulaient. Dans l'ensemble, nous avons constaté que ce secteur a connu une croissance de 118% d'une année sur l'autre, nous dit Adam Graecker. Ce que nous voyons, c'est que les gens affluent vers les applications de recherche d'emploi et essaient de les utiliser pour comprendre les multiples options d'emploi qui existent. En outre, une grande partie de cette évolution est liée à la mise en réseau avec des pairs pour trouver les emplois. En ce qui concerne le recrutement, surtout si l'on pense au ralentissement de l'activité et à une possible récession, on pensait que ce domaine allait peut-être baisser en intensité, mais il a en fait cru de manière assez significative. Les cryptos ont fait la une des journaux ces derniers temps, et l'ensemble du marché a perdu beaucoup de sa vigueur. Ce qui est intéressant cependant, peut-être du fait que notre rapport a été bouclé en août, c'est que nous avons observé une croissance d'environ 26% d'une année sur l'autre des applications de crypto. Je pense donc, nous dit Adam Graecker, qu'il y a peut-être un peu de battage médiatique qui donne l'impression que la crypto est en baisse beaucoup plus qu'elle ne l'est en réalité. Nous le voyons clairement dans les infos qui décrivent la crise des cryptos, mais nous voyons encore beaucoup d'utilisation dans ces applications et il sera intéressant de suivre notre rapport de l'année prochaine pour voir si toutes ces mauvaises nouvelles ont réellement eu un impact sur l'utilisation des applications. Nos statistiques, poursuit Adam Graecker, ont montré que la croissance du SaaS était en moyenne d'environ 25%. Il semble qu'aujourd'hui, de nombreuses applications B2B soient des applications SaaS. En ce qui concerne la valorisation des entreprises SaaS, il est certain que le cours des actions a baissé, mais cela n'a pas eu d'impact sur l'utilisation des apps. Nous considérons donc l'utilisation des applications chez Amplitude comme un indicateur de poids. Il se peut que la valorisation des entreprises sur le marché ne corresponde pas à l'utilisation réelle de ces produits. Nous partons du principe que si l'utilisation des applications SaaS reste forte, poursuit Adam Graecker, une fois que l'économie aura repris, les valorisations remonteront probablement. On pourrait penser que si les cours des actions sont en baisse, l'utilisation de ces applications devrait être en chute libre, mais ce n'est pas le cas, d'après nos données. Le marketing de l'offre est donc la nouvelle tendance, nous dit Adam Graecker. Je crois fermement à la croissance marketing de l'offre dans les apps. Pour ceux qui ne sont pas familiers avec le marketing de l'offre, l'idée est que les entreprises doivent décider où elles veulent dépenser leur argent, nous dit-il. Par le passé, beaucoup d'argent était dépensé dans les ventes et le marketing. Les entreprises du SaaS, au lieu d'embaucher des centaines de vendeurs, se sont tournées vers la croissance par le marketing de l'offre. Les entreprises décident de consacrer plus d'argent à leurs produits numériques au lieu d'acheter des publicités ou d'embaucher des vendeurs. C'est soutenu par le fait que si vous avez une très bonne application numérique, le bouche à oreille fonctionnera et les gens le diront à leurs amis, à leur famille et vous recruterez plus d'utilisateurs. C'est le retour du bon vieux bouche à oreille. Merci Adam Graecker. Par conséquent, la meilleure façon de vous différencier sur le marché est d'avoir le meilleur produit et d'y investir, nous dit-il. Dans beaucoup d'entreprises comme la nôtre, il parle d'Amplitude, nous proposons une offre où les gens peuvent essayer le produit gratuitement. Une fois qu'ils l'aiment, ça devient une habitude pour eux, c'est le bon vieux freemium. Puis ils atteignent certaines limites et doivent payer. Vous verrez cela partout, nous dit-il, les applications d'agenda comme Motion par exemple, que les gens utilisent pour planifier les réunions. Plus tard, ils doivent payer pour cela. Ce concept de croissance par le produit a vraiment pris de l'ampleur parce qu'en marketing, il devient de plus en plus difficile de démontrer un ROI, nous dit-il, car les politiques de protection des données deviennent plus strictes et les cookies commencent à disparaître. Ainsi, le ROI ou le retour sur investissement en publicité digitale deviennent plus difficiles à prouver. Les entreprises se rendent compte que l'une des meilleures façons de dépenser leur budget est donc d'investir dans les apps afin d'améliorer l'expérience des utilisateurs. Le marketing évolue. Il se pourrait bien que dans 10 ans, les marketeurs décident d'aller dans le sens inverse et d'investir davantage à la publicité, nous dit Adam Greco. Mais pour l'instant, nous assistons à un changement massif de la destination des budgets. Le CTO joue désormais un rôle prédominant alors que le directeur du marketing cède de son budget et de son pouvoir au directeur des produits. Mais il ne doit pas nécessairement y avoir de conflit entre les deux, nous dit-il. Certaines grandes entreprises commencent à se rendre compte que le marketing et le produit devraient commencer à travailler ensemble et unir leurs forces, car le client se moque de savoir s'il interagit avec le service marketing ou le service produit. Il veut simplement accéder à un site web ou à une application et vivre une bonne expérience. Il veut un bon produit qu'il peut utiliser et qui lui apporte de la valeur. La façon dont ils accèdent au produit n'est pas aussi importante que le fait qu'ils continuent à l'utiliser semaine après semaine, mois après mois. Les entreprises les plus intelligentes font en sorte que les départements marketing, nous dit Adam Greco, et produits reconnaissent la nécessité de travailler ensemble, car c'est le client qui est important et non leur organisation interne. Alors, verra-t-on une réduction des dépenses de publicité numérique à l'avenir? C'est ce que nous croyons et commençons à voir, nous dit Adam Greco. De nombreuses organisations s'interrogent sur la valeur qu'elles tirent de leurs dépenses en publicité numérique. Si vous dépensez 50 000 € par mois en publicité numérique, vous allez certainement obtenir un certain impact, nous dit-il, mais vous allez devoir continuer à dépenser 50 000 € chaque mois pour obtenir des résultats similaires. Il n'y a pas véritablement d'effet cumulé. Les entreprises nous confient que les investissements qu'elles font dans le produit ont en fait un effet multiplicateur parce qu'ils amènent effectivement plus de gens à adhérer, à utiliser le produit et à devenir des clients fidèles. Les clients ont donc l'impression d'obtenir presque 2, 3 ou 4 € par euro dépensé alors qu'ils investissent dans une app, mais c'est un rapport de 1 à 1 lorsqu'ils le dépensent en marketing ou en publicité. Il va être certainement intéressant pour l'avenir de découvrir comment le fait de se concentrer davantage sur le produit plutôt que sur les publicités va dégager de la valeur pour les marketeurs en B2B. Et nous vous invitons à lire The Product Report 2022 d'Amplitude que nous mettons à votre disposition dans notre post à la date du jour, le 8 février 2023. Et maintenant, je vous laisse en compagnie de Adam Greco dans la version originale de ce podcast enregistré depuis les États-Unis. So here I am with Adam Greco. You're a product evangelist at Amplitude. Hello, Adam. We're going to talk about the Product Report 2022 that Amplitude wrote this year. And we're going to talk about product-led marketing. We'll come back to that in a minute. Maybe you can give us a brief presentation of yourself and Amplitude and what you guys do in analytics.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on. So my name is Adam Greco. I am a product evangelist for Amplitude, and Amplitude is a digital analytics platform. We help companies accelerate their growth through data. We have about 2,000 customers worldwide. And as a product evangelist, I spend most of my time talking to customers, educating them on what they can do with our products, speaking at industry events. And I come to Amplitude with 20 plus years of experience in the marketing analytics background, and switched over to the product analytics world, which is something we can get into a little bit later. So just excited to be here and excited to chat about our report.
Okay. When you're talking about product here, we are focusing mainly on mobile applications and web applications, isn't it?
Yes, primarily mobile applications, but as you know, web applications have become pretty sophisticated these days. So in many cases, traditional websites act just like they are apps in a way, but generally applications that are driven by a product team that is using product methodologies and data to increase their growth.
Okay, and you launched this study between in August 2021 and August 2022, so over a 1-year period, and you used some of the analytics in your systems, didn't you?
Yeah, and this is actually our second report. During the COVID pandemic, as you would expect, there was tremendous growth in the usage of apps. And our first report happened to come out right after that. And so we saw astronomical rates of increased usage of apps. This is our second report, and we were curious to see what happened as the pandemic tapered down to see what the growth would be. But since we have so many customers that we track the usage of their apps, we're in a unique position to really see and analyze industry trends across our 2,000 customers. So what we did is the methodology of our study is we basically looked at a bunch of industries, and we looked over, as you mentioned, a year period. The apps that we looked at had to have at least 10,000 monthly active users just to get rid of some of the outliers. We also interviewed over 200 business leaders from marketing and product to really kind of get their insights of what's happening. And we looked across all industries, and we looked at a lot of the key countries that you would expect in the key regions, APAC, North America, and Europe.
Okay. And here, when we talk about products and mobile applications and applications in general, we're talking about all kinds of applications, social and transactional, all kinds of applications.
Absolutely. The ones we tend to focus on are B2B, e-commerce, consumer tech, fintech is a big one. But we actually were surprised to see some of the findings of our report, to see kind of what was happening as it related to coming out of the pandemic. Things like, how is the travel industry impacted by the pandemic slowing down? Wellness apps. We also see a lot of situations where new small businesses are getting started because of the fears of a recession or some of the impacts of a potential recession. So I think a lot of things we are curious about is, how does the potential economic downturn impact app usage? How does coming out of COVID impact that, and so on? So lots of kind of interesting things that we were looking for when we redid this report.
Okay. And one of the first things you found was that global product usage, as you call it, grew 16% year over year. And there's a huge growth regarding these applications, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, our previous report, it was an amazing amount of growth. It was in the hundreds of percent. And we actually went into this report expecting that there would be almost like negative product growth, because it was just such an explosive from the year before. But we were actually shocked and surprised that product growth actually increased year over year, from August to August. And so there was obviously some ups and downs that we saw in that, but yeah, we were really excited to see that there was 16% growth, showing that even during kind of tumultuous economic times, there's still massive investments in growth and products as the key driver of that growth.
Yeah. And you monitored this growth across different countries and geographies, and it happens everywhere. I mean, all these countries are going through this amazing growth. Maybe to start with Germany or Australia, maybe in France and the UK. They're all, Germany is just huge. Above 30% is amazing.
Yeah, and Singapore was actually the highest growth out of all. Their economy seems to be doing really well. But yeah, in Singapore, I think we saw 43% year-on-year growth, Germany 38%, and then France 32% growth. So really high growth. And I actually just spent a month in Europe. And what's interesting is Europe is really starting to become a powerhouse of startups, and a lot of these startups are using kind of product teams and product methodology to really differentiate themselves in the marketplace. And there's just a lot of enthusiasm. And I think they always say that whenever you have potential kind of economic downturns, it's actually the best time to start new companies. And we're definitely seeing that. I think Google and many other companies many years ago were born out of kind of the recession that happened back in the early 2000s.
And among these products, and some of them are cropping up, like with 500% growth in monthly active users, like social shopping app On the Look, or relationship app Paired, for instance, and a few others. So some of them are actually growing a lot more than others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's interesting is the largest growth that we saw was a social media app, Be Real. Their numbers were just through the roof. And what's really interesting is the CEO told our company, they use Amplitude to track this growth. And one of the interesting things is he said when he's meeting with his investors, instead of kind of showing them a pitch deck, he's just showing them the growth data in Amplitude because it's more impactful and it really lets them see what's happening. But one of the things that we saw, especially in Europe, is now that a lot of the travel restrictions have gone away, we saw some massive growth in the travel sector. A couple examples is one company based in the Netherlands, Tickets, was up 324%. There was another one in Spain, Travel Perk was up 253%. And what was most interesting is one company that's actually been around for a while in the UK, Trusted House Sitters, which is a unique business. It's where people who are on vacation can actually house sit or pet sit for people. Had 164% growth, and it's just amazing to see how much the travel sector has kind of kicked back after the pandemic.
I mean, all these apps are European based. Does that mean that those that are actually going through the highest growth are all European, or is it just your choice of applications that sideline the American ones?
Yeah, we definitely saw the Europe one have the most in the travel sector. In North America, we saw a large growth in SaaS apps and health and wellness apps. I think a lot of people, want to kind of get back in shape after maybe sitting around for a couple of years in the pandemic, maybe putting on some pounds. We definitely saw an APAC. FinTech has been huge. That's been a big growth area for them. And specifically, since I know France is of interest, in France, I think the two that jumped out at us, one is, and I may not pronounce this correctly, is Quanto. Canto is founded. They're in Paris. What we saw, they're the financial company. They help with payments, expense management, accounting solutions. They had 75% year-over-year growth, and then Luco, which is an insurance tech company, really focused on transparency and have an open model to let everyone who uses their product understand where their money is going, and they have this cool kind of 30-70% split to kind of guarantee that only 30% goes towards the overhead that people always worry about. That's where their insurance money is going. They had 119% growth, and so again, it's really kind of all over the board, different companies, different regions, but it's just really fascinating to see, and I think a lot of them are kind of pandemic based.
Okay, interesting. And now you've also analyzed these data by industry, and one of the first industries that you've analyzed is the HR, staffing, and job searching.
Yep. Yeah, this one was really fascinating because everyone had talked about the great resignation, people worried about losing a job because of a recession. But then during the pandemic, people felt very empowered, like they can find another job anytime they want. But overall, we saw that this industry had 118% year-over-year growth. And so we really feel like what we're seeing is people are pounding on job-related apps and products, and they're really trying to use them to figure out, what are their job options, where can they find their next job. Also, I assume a lot of that has to do with kind of networking with peers about finding jobs. And so that's been really interesting to see. We didn't expect that HR and staffing, especially as you're thinking about a downturn and recession, that you thought maybe that would be an area that would go down, but it actually, increased pretty significantly.
Okay, so much for HR and job search. We've talked about banking and fintechs with Conto in France, but there are also other areas of fintech that you've investigated, and especially crypto.
Yeah, I mean, crypto has been very in the news lately, and the whole crypto market has definitely lost a lot of steam. What's interesting, though, and again, this may just be timing of when our product report ended in August, but we actually saw about a 26% year-over-year growth in crypto apps. So I think there may be a little bit of a kind of a news story hype that makes it seem like crypto is going down a lot more than it actually is. We definitely are see it in the news and the whole FTX debacle, but we're actually seeing still a lot of usage in crypto apps, and it'll be interesting to see in our next year's report to see if all the news actually does have an impact on app usage.
Okay, quite interesting. Now, there's also something that you found out. You were fearing a SaaS crash this year, and it appears to be having been overblown. So it didn't really happen.
Yeah, our SaaS figures, we showed that they were up on average about 25%. And I think that, the SaaS valuations of companies, I mean, Amplitude is a SaaS company. I mean, it seems like nowadays many B2B apps are SaaS apps. Definitely stock prices have gone down, but it has not impacted product usage. And so we look at product usage as an interesting indicator, and it may be that the market valuation of companies versus the actual usage of these products is kind of misaligned. And our hope and what we're seeing is that if SaaS app usage continues to stay strong, that once the economy turns around, I think that the valuations that have been kind of pounded will probably go back up, is what our assumption would be. You'd think that if the usage was way down, or if the stock price is way down, the usage of these apps would be way down, but that hasn't been the case in our data.
That's good news. So there's no new internet bubble coming our way. That's good news. Hopefully. Okay, now to finish with this, maybe we could spend a little bit of time on product-led growth, because it seems to be something which is very much flavor of the month. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and this is pretty personal to me. I come from a marketing background and joined a product analytics organization, Amplitude, and so I really believe firmly in product-led growth. And what we're seeing, for those who aren't familiar, product-led growth, the idea is that companies have to decide where they want to spend their money. In the past, a lot of money was spent in sales and marketing. If you're, say, a SaaS company, you might hire hundreds of salespeople. And now what we're starting to see, and for a couple of reasons I can get into, product-led growth has really taken off. And the idea here is that companies are deciding to spend more money on their actual digital products instead of buying advertisements or hiring salespeople. And the idea is that if you have a really good digital app, that the word will spread, and people will tell their friends, their family, more people will come, and so on. And so the idea is the way you could best differentiate yourself in the market is to have the best product. And the way that you have the best product is to put your money where your mouth is and invest in the product. And a lot of companies like ours, we have a free offering where people can kind of try the product for free. And then once they like it, it becomes a habit for them. Then they hit certain limits and then they have to pay. And you'll see that across the board. Products like Calendly is a big one where people use it to schedule meetings, and then all of a sudden you have to pay for it. But this whole concept of product-led growth has really gained steam because marketing, it's difficult to show your return on investment these days, now that privacy policies are becoming so strict and cookies are starting to be deleted. So a lot of the ways that in the past people would show the return on investment or return on ad spend are becoming more difficult, and companies are realizing that one of the best ways they can spend their money is to invest in the product, where they can make sure that people are having really good product experiences.
Yeah, it maybe it doesn't mean the end of marketing. Maybe the beginning of a new kind of marketing, which is more word of mouth marketing orientated and working based on the product, on recommendations, and the way that people actually can spread the word around.
Yeah, I mean, marketing's never going to go away. I think you're right. It is a different type of marketing, and I think it's more of a shift. It could be that 10 years from now, people decide to shift the other way and do a lot more for advertising. But right now, we just happen to see a massive shift of dollars being shifted. And also, subtly, we're seeing that the CPO, which is the chief product officer at many organizations, which is a role that didn't even exist many years ago, is starting to become very prevalent. And we're starting to see that the chief marketing officer is somewhat ceding a little bit of budget and power over to the chief product officer. But it doesn't have to be confrontational. We actually see that some of the leading companies are starting to realize that marketing and product should all really start to work together and almost join forces, because the customer doesn't really care whether they're interacting with the marketing department or the product department. They just want to come to a website or an app, and they want to, have a good experience. They want to have a good product that they can use, get value from it. And how they got to the product isn't as critical as are they continuing to use the product week over week, month over month. And that's why I think the smartest companies are getting the marketing departments and the product departments to realize we need to work together, because the customer is what's important, not our internal departmental hierarchy.
Yeah, fascinating. What I hear in what you're saying as well is that maybe in the future there's going to be less and less money spent in digital advertising.
That's what we believe, and that's what we're starting to see. We're starting to see a lot of organizations who are questioning the value and the ROI of the money they're spending in digital advertising. But and here's the reason for that is if you spend, 50,000 euro a month on digital advertising, you're definitely going to get some impact of that, but you're going to have to keep spending 50,000 euro every month. You're going to have to keep that going. Otherwise, if you stop spending, you're going to stop getting things. It doesn't really have a compounding effect, but we are finding the companies are telling us that the investments they're making in the product is actually having a multiplier effect, because it does get more people to join, to use the product, to become loyal. And they feel like they almost get like 2, 3, or 4 euro per dollar spent when they invest in the product, but they feel like it's a 1-to-1 when they spend it in marketing. And that's just the feedback we're hearing from companies. And that's why, as a company, Amplitude has really grown. We keep growing, 30, 40% year over year, because companies are investing in product. And the way that they see how those product investments are paying off is by using a digital analytics platform like ours.
Well, that's very interesting. Thank you, Adam. We're definitely going to keep an eye on this product-led marketing trend, which is groundbreaking and showing a shift in the use of marketing and marketing dollars. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Surtout, n'oubliez pas de mettre une bonne note à ce podcast si vous l'avez apprécié.